everyone, it's Mish here, and today we are going to be doing week 37 in the Margarete Miller Collage Challenge. So the prompts for this week are a playing card, either side, a zigzag pattern, a bell or bells, a famous city, something that reminds you of a wedding, and bonus is a postage stamp. So if you've been following along with this playlist, you'll know that I've been working in my Moleskine journal, and it was getting very, very fat. So I decided to tear the last pages out and just work in those, and then when I'm finished, try and get them back in. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm just going to start by putting down just some background paper. This is just some just scrap paper that I have, and I'm just going to put it down with my tape runner. This one here is a Tombow, and it holds pretty good. So I'm just going to try to get this just sit down, and I think I'd like it something like that. I am going to save a little spot where I can put my prompt. So I like to be able to stick my prompt in the back. I might just put that down with a little bit of glue. The thing with this sketchbook is it just really doesn't hold up to a lot of water, but a little bit of glue is fine. So we'll get that down. So for this week, I don't know, I kind of had ideas in my head, but what you can actually get down as your collage really depends on what you have for your sources. And just couldn't really find some of the things that I could envision in my head. So my ideas kind of changed based on what I could find. Some of these background pages that I'm using, I got in just a little, I guess, scrapbook pads. I don't know what they're really called. These little pads you can get on Temu and AliExpress. I just think they're gorgeous. And so the theme, because I always kind of like to try to get a theme and try to pull the sources, the prompts together, is going to be a Victorian wedding. So I'm putting down kind of background papers that make me think about the Victorian time, which was all kind of floral and very patterned, very lovely. So for what reminds me of a wedding is I found this picture of this Victorian bride. So I thought that obviously would remind me of a wedding. And then a famous city, I thought St. Paul's Cathedral is in London. So my representation of a famous city would be St. Paul's. So I'm just going to get my lady down. So she was very excited to plan her wedding. She was lucky enough to be able to get married at St. Paul's. So that's where the wedding took place, at the cathedral. And then for a bell, I chose to go with the bells of St. Paul's. So I found this this old vintage picture, Victorian picture, and then in one of the magazines or newspapers that ran at the time, they had a pictorial kind of series of the bell being delivered to St. Paul's and being installed. So I thought that would work for my bell. And for my playing card, I took a playing card and then I just altered it. So I just took just a normal playing card, and then with some of the sources, little bits and bobs that I had, I keep a little container with all kinds of just cutouts and little tickets and things. And then for the background, of my altered card, I used a lot of napkin. So I put that down with a little bit of matte medium, and then it almost disappears but leaves a little bit of a background. So I just had to play with that, and then on my sewing machine I went around and did a little zigzag pattern. So I thought that that would be the pattern and the playing card. And then I was just thinking about how to put the layout down. So I was struggling a little bit with trying to get this in a half decent fashion. But I was kind of thinking that, you know, this is her scrapbook after the wedding, and she just was putting bits and bobs in. So I don't know if my idea sort of a Victorian scrapbook is a little bit like a junk journal, and that, you know, you get clippings out of the paper and little ephemera that you can find to embellish it up. So that's kind of the look I was going for here. I thought this card turned out quite cute. I do have a postage stamp there. I don't know if you can see in the background, but that's Tower Bridge, so that kind of brought in the city theme with with London. You know, love, obviously. Hopefully you're marrying for love, but that's not always the way it works. I am going to put this card down with a little bit of Fabri-Tac because it does have a glossy finish on the back, and I think it would hold better with the Fabri-Tac. I am struggling with this bottle because I keep cutting the top of it a little bit bigger, and I just can't seem to get it to flow well. I always have that issue with the Fabri-Tac, and that, yes, it holds well, and if you can get it flowing good, then Bob's your uncle, but sometimes it's a struggle to get that out. Anyways, I think I got enough there. And the good thing about the Fabri-Tac is that it's a silicone-based adhesive, so it doesn't warp your paper. So that's always a good thing. So we'll get that down. And then, so I also wanted to just I'm gonna do a little bit of wax seal here, and I have my wax seal off to the side in my little burner. I want to keep an eye on it because I don't want it to catch light to something here. What else do I want to do? Yeah, postage stamps. So I got a bunch of postage stamps that I had, and I kind of envisioned her going on her honeymoon tour and sending back postcards from the various places that she's been. So she's been to Spain and Gibraltar, and then on the way home she kind of always wanted to go to Denmark. So I think she's kind of been to Denmark. Maybe, I'm not sure if I can fit that all in there. So that's going to be my postage stamps. I could tuck one in over there, but I think I'll go ahead and put those down. I remember once years ago, the partner I was with at the time, we flew to Gibraltar. We'd been there before, but we had flown there to do a little tour of, we were going to Morocco. So we flew to Gibraltar, and the Gibraltar airstrip is actually the border with Spain because Gibraltar is British. So we literally got off the plane, walked off the plane, walked across the tarmac into Spain, and then right out of the parking lot is the bus terminal, as well as buses, not a terminal, but and we hopped on a bus to Algeciras, which is kind of in the southern Spain. I don't know how long the bus trip was, and we got to Algeciras, and then we had to try and find the fast-speed catamaran to Tangier. So we managed to get that. We were the only English-speaking people on it. And so we got into Tangier, and I'll tell you, that was an experience. And then we stayed there for a couple days, and then we got on the Marrakesh Express, and we headed off to we stopped in Casablanca for a couple nights, and it just reminded me like of an old one of the old classics with Humphrey Bogart. So we kind of toured around Casablanca, and then got back on the Marrakesh Express down to Marrakesh, and we hung out in Marrakesh for a few days, and then we headed back. We flew from from Marrakesh back to London, and the train, the Marrakesh Express train, holy smokes, that was an experience. But yeah, the good memories of past times. Okay, so with this, I think I will put it down. So this here, what I'm fooling with as I'm telling my stories, is I'm just envisioning that this is a bit of her wedding dress that she wanted to kind of put in her scrapbook. So that's a little bit of lace from her wedding dress. And then I went into my my stamps and just tried to look at one that I thought there was just a little harsh, but I kind of like this one, which was a flower and a heart. That kind of reminded me of being Victorian. So I've got my wax ready. So I'm just gonna pour a little bit of the wax here, and then gonna make sure that's right side up, and then I'm just gonna let that cool. So while I'm doing that, I just wanted to add a couple embellishments, which again reminds me about a bit about a wedding, because you always have flowers and stuff at a wedding. So this sticker book is just one that I got. I picked it up at Michael's. It's just one of the Recollections ones. So I thought, well, let's just embellish that with a few flowers. I always like to have flowers at weddings. And I think it just kind of brings the paper to the layout together a little bit, just to have a few flowers off to the side. I think I just want a little something there. I was going to put a little bit of lavender here because I believe that when the Queen got married, and Catherine and Will, they always have a bit of lavender in their bouquet. I could be wrong, but I think that is the truth. So there. Okay, so we've got that down, and I'm wondering, that should be dry. So we'll take that off, and I think that looks really sweet. And then lastly, for the zigzag pattern, I wanted to add a little bit more zigzag. So I've got a couple stamp sets. So one is just a generic one I think I got that on Amazon. And one's an old Stampin' Up! Stitching. And then I'm just going to use my tried and trusted old archival ink. And I do like to stamp off before I stamp. And I just want to go around, and I think I just want to put a little bit of stamping. I just want to try to get just there. Sometimes that's hard, but I'm only going to ink up the top half of the stamp. Stamp off there, and then we'll put that down. And I think that just kind of blends in a little bit and makes that a little bit, draws it together somewhat. And it goes along the theme of the zigzag. One of the prompts is being the zigzags. And then maybe down along the side here. And across the top. Because she's sewn that in, because that's what you would do. Right. So I think we've got everything that we need there. We have a playing card, we have the zigzag pattern, we have the bells, we have a famous city, something that reminds you of a wedding. Well, there's lots of stuff here that reminds me of a wedding, and bonus is a postage stamp. So that is today's layout. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please give me a like, and I'd love for you to subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you have a safe and happy week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.